We waiting on Michael?
Yes, sir. The recording is in progress. Michael Kabaka-Harris, thanks for joining us. This is Andrew Williams Jr. and another Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr. And in this case, Michael Kabaka-Harris. In Sacramento, among other things, we also have two other guests. So Michael, could you be so kind as to introduce yourself? And then briefly, our other guests can introduce themselves, and Michael, the floor will be yours. So,
okay. Briefly, my name is Michael Harris, born in Sacramento, and I guess to be brief, the chair of the National Buffalo Soldier Day that's once again happening in San Francisco at Union Square, July the 28th.
that was brief. Gene, you were here next. Please introduce yourself, and then Remus, and then the floor will be back to you, Michael.
I'm Ajin Shahid. I currently live in San Diego, but I'm originally from Los Angeles. I'm a Los Angeles South Chamber of Commerce ambassador and education team captain, and I have a company, Changing Paradigms Incorporated, that focuses on unsung Black male heroes, and then consulting with education schools for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Remus Muhammad.
Yes, good morning. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Remus Muhammad, member of the Nation of Islam, last 27 years. Yeah, good to be here.
Michael, we're yours. What's the agenda?
Well, the agenda is, well, there's two things. One is to gain clarity of, what we're really trying to do. But National Buffalo Soldier Day is, it's on track for the 28th. We have, currently 2 people that have registered for the dinner at the St. Francis, and 1 tentative sponsor, which is the Secretary of the Army. That there is a plethora of data for the Buffalo Soldiers. If you could do that screen share thing, I could put it up.
Yes, you may.
I had some really nice conversations with Brian Shellum, who is probably the most renowned author of Buffalo Soldiers that's living, and nice conversations with Renata Young, who is the matriarch of the Charles Young Foundation. She's Deputy Secretary of, no, she's not, she's Deputy Controller of Columbia University in New York. So there's a lot of stuff happening.
You can share your screen.
Okay, all right. Let me go to that. Let's see here. Okay, oh, there we go. So this is the book that I'm referencing, Brian Shellum, and that is Colonel Charles Young, who is now Brigadier General Charles Young. And the picture there you see, he was, what was his rank? I think he was Captain Charles Young when he escorted Teddy Roosevelt through the streets of San Francisco, 1903, to dedicate the Dewey statue in Union Square. And Union Square, San Francisco, and most Union Squares are dedicated to the Union victory over the Confederate States of America during the Civil War. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been recognition officially of the colored troops that fought in California or left California and fought in the Civil War. And so that's part of what we're bringing out on the 28th, is those names and some particular individuals that made a significant difference in the U.S. Civil War. So yeah, I'll stop there in terms of what's going to happen on the 28th. But again, and I said it last time we met, there is the lack of respect for the Buffalo Soldiers particularly here in California, where there's over 500 Buffalo soldiers buried at the Presidio in San Francisco. No marker for them, no monument for them. $9 billion worth of tourism in San Francisco prior to COVID, and no mention of the Buffalo soldiers, you know, and how you got to be a Buffalo soldier at the Presidio in San Francisco. And, you know, to my knowledge, and I drilled there when I was served in the Army, and nobody told me anything about the Buffalo soldiers while I was part of the United States Army. So we're rectifying that for 4 years, 5 years, really. We've been leading the charge to make it happen. The Buffalo soldiers in California. And just so happened, Congresswoman Jackie Speier, she is retiring as a congresswoman. She authored the legislation to do an official congressional study on the Buffalo soldiers that was completed in 2019 and was distributed just before COVID hit at the celebration of the highway that is the entrance to Sequoia National Park that Colonel Charles Young led the construction of the highway into the oldest trees on planet Earth. And you know, it is what it is, but there is a lack of respect for it and a lack of concern, in my opinion, for the salient contributions to humanity that our Black officer in a Buffalo Soldier Regiment did. And finally, I'll say this: he was born enslaved in Kentucky, and he died as the highest ranking Black officer in all of the armed services in Nigeria. And well, I should say British Nigeria, because it wasn't quite an independent nation yet. And there's not a lot of recognition for the work he did in Africa and Haiti, well, I should say Liberia, and throughout, you know, colonized Africa, you know, in his tenure as a Black officer, making the world safe for people of African descent just to be human beings. So that's you know where I'll leave it. And then again, the question is you know, as we go down this trail one more again, what are we really trying to do?
Well, let me ask you, Michael, if you could put the link to the event in the chat. Normally, we would be streaming this live, but I want to give you this as a warm-up, because the idea is that by sharing the content wider, we'll be able to engage a larger audience, but it's up to us to make it attractive and appealing and interesting, all those things. Is that the website link in the chat?
Okay. Let's see, what would be the better one to put in the link? Probably this one would probably be better.
And just as a note, if we're inviting people to come to a website to register, it would be a great idea to also share that link or share that page and walk people through it. You have the opportunity now, Michael, if you choose.
Say that again. I didn't catch that.
Just a moment.
Okay.
I apologize. I was closer to the phone now. Also, we've had Kenneth Wyrick to join us, who's also very interested in the educational impacts and historical impacts of this. But Michael, right now, normally I stream this, but what I'm asking you to do is kind of treat us as if we're a bigger audience And if you want people to register on an Eventbrite or somewhere, then show that. Let people walk them through what it is you want them to do. This is not just for us, but then we can share it, to a wider audience. And if you have links and that you can put in the chat, we'll attach that. But to make it appealing, if you want to share it, now's that time, Michael. The floor is yours. What do you want to do with it?
Well, no, this is the first I heard it. I'm trying to listen and then process what you're telling me and then do it. I didn't know that's the deal. So yeah, I can do all of that in the chat. Let me see, how can I put that in the chat? Because do I have to stop sharing the screen to do that? I don't know how to do that. Let me just do what I know how to do. Share screen in the chat, because I couldn't even see the other part.
And also, I will say that the button seemed pretty clear right there about sign up now. I think that was signing up for the event, wasn't it, Mike?
Well, yeah. The Eventbrite page, because of the nature of Eventbrite, the advanced sales are over for the dinner. It's been up for about well over a month. This is our 4th year doing it. The idea, again, as I said, there's just not a lot of support, and there's a lot of things going on, and some people think $100 is pricey, but they've never been to the West in St. Francis and had a dinner. But that's where the AME Zion Church was. That's where Colonel Charles Young escorted the President of the United States, and I'm pretty sure Fred Jordan, past president, really he's the chair of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce. He says, Michael, don't worry. And I know what that means. It's gonna be something at the last minute. But I've known him for 25 years, and I'm confident in Fred's abilities. The challenge is the hope is, the mayor's Black, the president of the San Francisco County Board of Supervisors is Black. I can go down the list, but the idea that Buffalo soldiers, let's just say throughout the state of California, are not very honored. The AME Zion Church, that is maybe 2 miles from where the Buffalo soldiers are buried. I attended their service 2 weeks ago now, and they have a new pastor. But again, there's not a concerted effort to recognize the California pioneers of African descent. And we've had to do things kind of different. So the President Biden, his executive order 13985, may finally make it to California next week. The Interior Department, the National Parks, they're doing, I call it secret squirrel meet. They said they're coming to meet, but they're not public. And then what they did is they had, there's 1 hour of public testimony, and then they did that right on top of Buffalo Soldier Day. Let me see if I can pull that up, put that in the chat. And so absent, a broader support on a consistent basis, it's just not gonna happen in terms of recognizing the continuity, just in California, from being out of 30 men, 8 men of African descent, both enslaved and free, were part of the Bear Flag Revolt. The flag bearer is a Black man. The Black men on both sides of the Mexican-American War, when the governor is Black, and some of the leading military men on the United States side, bodyguard for Fremont. I go on, but the idea that from Bear Flag Revolt to the Mexican-American War to the U.S. Civil War, men of African descent were part of the war, and on both sides in the Civil War, even on the Confederate side. And the outcome of a successful Union victory was Black men being able to join the regular army and become equitable paid soldiers on the battlefield. And now we got tricked politically, and so we had another 100 years of affliction, even though we were quote unquote citizens. We just, states' rights took over, and the Confederate president, after Lincoln was killed, just with a pen, rescinded all the battles, victorious battles that we won. They call it Reconstruction. Basically, they just allowed the Confederates that didn't die to become Ku Klux Klan and terrorize the people from Sea to Shining Sea. However, at the same time that was happening, the Buffalo Soldiers that were being paid very well came out west and made the manifest destiny, white man rule only, possible. But they were paid at that time very well to do so. So this is the backdrop of Buffalo Soldiers, and bring it forward to today. There still is a white officer running the African Command for the United States, and there's a whole bunch of Black soldiers on the ground taking the orders from the United States African Command. Notwithstanding, the Secretary of Army is a man of African descent. So it could and can be a little different, but just like we have just a few people looking at the Buffalo Soldiers, there's just a few people looking at what's happening in Africa in terms of how we secure the economic systems, how we even frame the conversations of what it means to be African on the planet. So I'll stop there. I can go on.
Okay, well, thank you. Kenneth Wyrick has joined us. You may or may not have been in touch with Kenneth through Herschel Daniels and the Friends of the African Union. But Kenneth, if you could be so kind as to introduce yourself, I would certainly appreciate it. And then let us know if you're aware of any events about Buffalo Soldiers in the Los Angeles area or anywhere else in California. But the idea is that we start now to build for next year, basically. And again, I'm looking at the rest of the decade. But Kenneth Wyrick, could you please unmute and introduce yourself?
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kenneth Wyrick in Los Angeles, and I just saw the link, and so I popped in. There's what I think about, and even with Michael Harris, is Akansanya, who has a whole story not only about Buffalo Soldiers, but even leading up to the Buffalo Soldiers and the horsemen that pioneered and did so much in the United States. And he has direct connection to some of his family that were part of that equestrian brigade, that was the mode of transportation back then. So I would encourage Michael to potentially reach out. I'm working on Akansanya as an overall artist and icon, and he's getting a lot of traction now in terms of some of the white galleries, but we need to kind of pay attention and stay in there with him. And between the Buffalo Soldier conversation and just being able to interview him and others that have stories to tell, which I think is what Remus is about, and him pulling together different people that would be involved with different subjects like this. And there again, educationally, as a component, I would see the California African American Museum potentially playing some role or in terms of documenting or the research or the background materials that would come forth. And then as one other aspect, I think of the Tuskegee Airmen and making some correlation between the two, and even with Allensworth, and how at Allensworth now they have Buffalo Soldier, a small Buffalo Soldier concern there that actually leads a lot of the information and is a component. And tying back into Tuskegee, the Allensworth Association has a designation of becoming Tuskegee of the West in terms of its educational institution, which is K through 8 now, which will go on up through college level and become Tuskegee of the West. That's kind of the plan. So in terms of their involvement, and then also at the state level, at the parks level, the Allensworth is now in the budget for creating a information center, and maybe some of the research, or there could be a component that would definitely be involved in and be available to disseminate through that new center, and be a primary component. The virtualization and retelling of the story is a primary concern to reach a broader audience, like you're saying. So there again, finding the sponsors and coming up with the plans and understanding and preserving the stories about them would be, I think, a great asset to our educational system and just to our overall well-being. Thank you.
Well, let me ask you, Ken, this is Andrew again. Kenneth, you and I had some years ago had this concept of tours on the fly, where we would actually have a map and a route to let people know where interesting events were coming up. I know Remus has active involvement with Airbnb activities, things like that. So I'm wondering, can we tie together some kind of plan to what Michael is saying to build awareness by building more of a like a virtual track, if you would, of here in California, those historical locations and counter events that we can help then to digitize and invite more people into.
Well, yes, and the metaverse would potentially be a place for that as it's coming in. So people like DJ Naj and Akinsanya, in fact, Michael Rendler just responded to an overall call to get more involvement with Akinsanya's collection of over 7,000 original works of art that he has that all have stories and create. But part of what we need to do is, like with DJ Naj and the ones that actually do virtual reality, Paris, Lady Hamilton's son, and put together a team and then come up with funding that would then have them over the course of whatever period put together the assets and build the space. And with Michael's knowledge of where and when and how it all pieces together, or at least much of the story, that could become the narrative. And then also with the tomorrow's Aeronautical Museum, Robin Petgrave, who has the Tuskegee Airmen part. So I think
so one thing, Kenneth, and because I with all due respect, and you well know that Akinsanya is my teacher, and everything you're saying is happening. There's an exhibit right now at CAM. It's been up for a little while.
What you say? Everything is happening. What? I didn't quite get that.
Okay, so do you understand? Okay, CAM is the African American Museum in Los Angeles, and I'm saying that for other people that are listening.
Right.
There is a exhibit on buffalo soldiers at the California African American Museum right now. And the question that Andrew asked, is there an event there that you're aware of? And
No.
the answer is no. The ongoing need to take what is already in place and somehow manipulate that into something that could or may happen is very concerning. So again, the Congressional Buffalo Soldier Study is something that you can research and find for yourself. The people that actually come to the event will be able to purchase copies of it because it's very lengthy, big. But the
How much is it?
Buffalo Soldier, National Buffalo Soldier Day was a piece of legislation that was signed by the President of the United States. Now that just didn't happen, it happenstance.
When did that happen,
If we not deal with that at any point, we're going to continue being where we are. So, all that I said earlier seemingly is negated by what Kenneth is saying, that we don't need to focus on what I'm talking about. We need to do some things that are not happening. So, I mean, I don't have time to sit and listen to that when we have an event next week.
Let me jump in
Please.
before Michael jumps off. As you said, Michael, as we all heard, the problem is, who knows? Do enough people in your mind know about the Buffalo Soldier story?
No.
Rhetorical question, because you already said no.
No, they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to establish that firmly in your mind as we move forward. So that's where Kenneth's verbiage ties in, solving that. So if we negate Kenneth's verbiage, then we don't get to the thing that can solve the rhetorical question of, do enough people know about it? Because if it was left up to Cam, obviously we wouldn't have a problem, because it's there already. Like you said, everything's already well documented, national stuff. But meanwhile, back to the 90-some%, 98% of California that has no clue about this, that's where something new, like what Kenneth is speaking about, and I understand you not being in Watts and not being in Southern Cal, it's probably not really real to you what Kenneth.
Whoa. See, this, I keep telling you, Akinsanya, I mean,
okay.
Ken knows this very well. Akinsanya is my teacher. I have spent years in LA, and I understand the stuff. So the question is, what can we do in 7 days? And how can we, as Black folks, even share this story in 7 days and lift up what is happening right now in many places across the United States, celebrating Buffalo Soldiers, what is actually in place right now, because we don't have to recreate the wheel. It's actually happening.
Okay, let's start with what I think won't happen. I don't think it's going to be on CBS News, because I think if we shoot too high in 7 days, like Andrew said, I know you don't want to hear about a year from now. I know that's like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm dying. I'm on the battlefield right now. You're telling me a year from now? Like you got an event coming up in 7 days. So chances are this call might not solve that. Let's just start there so we can kind of breathe without hyperventilating. Okay, because I know I can't solve that, but I do know, like, kind of like the solution ain't gonna come if we can agree in 7 days. The event is gonna happen on July 28th. So there are some things we could try to identify that might start the education process. And I don't have any illusions that all of LA or all of anything of Black is going to know about this in time, even with Andrew Networks, not before July 28th. If it happens, I'll be the #1 person happy. because I would love it to happen. Let's be real clear. However, I think it's important as a manager of life and of business and of emotions to be realistic about what can happen in 7 days or by July 28th, and then what can happen in the next year or the next month or the next 3 weeks, let's just say. Those are different actionable items and different thoughts. So I'm sitting here knowing I'm glad I need to be the #1 student about the whole thing, because I sure as hell can't represent some shit I don't know. So I know the museum is there, and I know it's probably all written somewhere, but getting people to focus on that when they got video games, and, our people are all over the map. Like, if they ain't making no money today, they probably ain't gonna try to come study, in my mind. So all of what we doing, we haven't monetized, we all got lives, we all got, things we're trying to manage. But thank God we are here as students, because what's new to me is my knowledge about any of these people. So if I can get there on July 28th, I'll be there with notepad and trying to soak up as much as possible, knowing good and well there's a million other things that we all need to do. I need to do, and I don't see it as a money-making venture. So it's money out of pocket. I asked the question, how much is the Congressional Buffalo Soldier story going to cost? I need to know that, just for me. I know that may not be sexy to you about July 28th, but I just want to know, if I do show up, do I have enough in my pocket to buy one? The thick story. It might be collectively we could even have one. So Mike, I don't know if you shut down or what, but that's the question. I'll pause.
No, I hear you clear. So, and I don't know the answer to that right now. It's at the printer, and we're not trying to make money off. We're just trying to recoup what we have, and probably.
And I don't think you're trying to give it away for free, though, are you?
No, what I said is we're trying to recoup.
Okay, I just want to know the price: $50, $500, or $10. I don't care the price. I just need to know. I want to be able to exchange my money to get one. So as soon as you know, I would like to know, and then I might probably can sell 2 or 3 more, 100 more once I know what one costs.
Well, no,
are you going to be there, Michael?
For the sake of clarity and to be clear, the congressional study is online, it's free.
Oh, okay.
But most folks don't know about it, won't just type in congressional study Buffalo Soldier and download the big file. So we have some available. And so just like you see on the screen, there is a Colonel Charles Young Memorial Highway that goes into the Sequoia State Park. And the people that are on this screen, came from all over the United States to be there at the park. And the sister that's sitting next to me, Dr. Joy Kennard, that's just a brilliant sister. Her father was the first Black man that ran the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. So there's, as I said earlier, there's a lot of stuff happening. The fact that it's not happening in California and we're not aware of it is what I was hoping that this was going to do. But there is, again, we're going to do a Zoom call that morning as well. So that will bring awareness. The challenge is, like we're having on this call, we don't want to follow the script that's already in place. We want to do something different.
All right.
If there isn't, listen, I'm almost finished. If there isn't clear understanding of what we're doing in San Francisco, that there's over 500 Buffalo Soldiers buried in San Francisco that, fought, bled, and died for this country, and there is absolutely nothing there to recognize that. So one of the things that's going to happen is we're going to have legislation. The white guy that's holding the sign, a good Republican buddy. He is an Army man. You know, his staff, you know, we're going back and forth on languages on how to change that sign from, it's either gonna say General or Brigadier General Charles Young Memorial Highway. And we got to put up another sign, probably another 10 grand. And the guy standing next to him, the guy right next to the man holding the sign, he'll probably come up with the money. And the brother that's standing there with the Buffalo Soldier hat on, which is what the Rangers, all the Rangers use, Sheldon Johnson, he's at Yosemite. And so the Buffalo Soldiers also did the trails and the roads into Yosemite. And the highway going into Yosemite is the Buffalo Soldier Highway. So we just stay with where we are and start here, and we'll do the Zoom on 9 o'clock and talk about San Francisco and the Buffalo Soldiers in San Francisco, and maybe down the road at another date, doesn't have to be next year, the CAM exhibit, we could go down to CAM, I know the people well, and do an event at CAM. The exhibit is up, and then build some energy around that after Buffalo Soldier Day. But the idea is that we start with the known and go into the unknown. So we have a lot to work with right now.
All right, good.
But there's not a desire to go down the path, from what I'm hearing.
Well, let me jump in because
go ahead.
I have no desire to hear the fact that everybody on this call has huge desire. You're just not talking to the right people yet. But I thank God that you have all of, you laugh, but history will bear me out. I can't prove it. I can't prove it in a 24-hour period, but you just watch. Obviously, something's missing. God ain't gonna let the story go unknown forever. And I'm here to tell you, you finally have the PR team and the right folks that when introduced to those folks in that picture, when that meeting happens, that will be different. That will change the trajectory of everything, because I don't see anybody in there that is down up in the streets in LA and Watts and Compton and Long Beach and Inglewood that know anything about any of them. So our job on this end, not you, you're doing your job. Yosemite brother right there with the white shirt, and y'all doing your job and holding it together, but trickling it down to where the person over here at Marcus Garvey or Crenshaw High know anything about it is our job. And we're up against a whole lot of shit that, and I think you know better than anybody, that don't want that to happen. So we should understand the problem first before we start even understanding, thinking about the solution. But to me, that's recognizing the pink elephant, the $1 million pink elephant is, it ain't getting done. So we don't know it yet. Now, when we know it like you know it, and that's gonna take some study on our end, at least me and whoever I know, Kenneth knows it, there's people on here that know it, but it kills me how many of us talk about, well, so-and-so know it. I was talking to Teresa Kennedy. Well, they already know that. I know Michael Manley, but why are you telling me who knows it when 99% of people don't know it? So
the reason I'm telling you, I'm trying to tell you, and I'm trying to speak to the people that are on watching on Zoom or will watch on Zoom.
Right.
So,
me too.
So we can have
a
conversation that is of benefit
yeah.
to building and continuing the journey that my teacher were on and the people that are still doing this. So what we're talking about is no different than what Assembly Bill 3121 is, which is a reparative study to deal with what has happened to us in California. But the idea that we don't even, as a people, don't even know that we were enslaved in California, and then how we were able to get free. And that Underground Railroad network of freedom is, in fact, the culmination of the Buffalo Soldiers. And so, again, you're absolutely right. There is a level of understanding and education that need to happen with the people that are, not just the people on this call, but the people that will listen to this, that we have to begin to change. And Dr. Shirley Weber, who is now the Secretary of State for the state of California, has all of the archives at her disposal. And I'm in conversation with her on a regular basis, with her and her staff. I talked to her personally. Just happened to run into her in the airport, and just happened to be in her conversations with the other members of the Black Caucus that don't have her on a regular basis because she's Secretary of State. But the idea that now that Juneteenth in LA, Juneteenth is a paid holiday for county employees as well as city employees. And unfortunately, there is an inordinate amount of Black veterans on the street homeless in LA because we don't have the level of respect that we should have for people that put on the uniform. And I'm saying this for the people that aren't on the call. The people that are here, on the screen understand this, but the people that may, be seeing this in Africa don't know that people of African descent, when they came back from Civil War, set up towns. There's 50 towns in California. And these men that fought, bled, and died set up structures. The city of LA, to be quite frank, but we don't know this. And so there's a broad education piece that needs to happen.
Right.
And it begins with the known and stretches out to the unknown.
Right.
So,
now, Mike,
go ahead. And I'm almost done. I got one more sentence to say. Last year when we did it, we were on the news, CBS. So I know for a fact that we'll be on the news again because they called. So the issue is, what do we tell them? What's the messaging? And so that is, what we're going to be discussing with Fred Jordan probably this Saturday. But I'm not in no way, shape, or form mad because there's only 2 people paid to come to the event. I'm committed and have been committed for some time. The question is, who's coming on board with the plan that's in place? And clearly, like you said, there's something else that has to happen, and Ken probably has a better understanding of what he was suggesting as a parallel path, which is nothing wrong with that.
let me jump in.
Sure.
Because if the vision is not painted properly, we'll be stuck here forever. We got to make it.
No. Hold on. Y'all, okay, so clearly, we don't have any cognition of what I'm saying.
No.
The bill is done. The study is done.
Michael,
Michael.
I'm going to tell you because other people on this are listening. I don't have time. I got an event in a week to do, so I'm not going to deal with hypotheticals.
You had an
all
opportunity
right,
to speak.
have a good day, bro.
All right.
I don't know what else to say, man.
All right.
So we can have a good meeting, Andrew, with all of us to come up with this. It's not a parallel plan. It is the same exact plan. So
it's
okay,
obviously
Mike,
it's
I
a
thought you
parallel
said you
plan.
was done, Mike.
It's okay,
Michael,
brother.
you've already had your
I
chance.
thought you said you were done.
Be
We're trying to see you on July 28th with some questions, maybe.
I don't expect to see you, brother. Just be on the
Well,
Zoom
whether
call.
you expect it or not,
Just
I'm invited.
be on the Zoom
right?
call.
I'm invited, right? All right.
Never mind. I kicked Michael out of his own meeting.
Now back to the plan that Kenneth Wyrick was voicing that will work for the rest of the world to hear. The reality is we have to learn. That's so good. There's a lot of fruit that came from that. There'd be a lot more fruit if we had the stomach to listen to it, but many of us want to do the work that has not been done yet and put together and do some things. So everyone on here that I know, Michael, Kenneth Wyrick, Ajin, with a few different pieces of material that we have the plan to get it into the nooks and crannies of everything in LA. But I'm not excited right now about the piece of the Secretary of State and a paid holiday for Buffalo soldiers. How many Black folks is even still working to get a paid holiday? That's not the hook. The hook is long after this. Let me share this with you. I was hoping I could have shared it with him, but he'll get the word. Trust me. About from the horse to the jet. When you talk about the horse, Kenneth, I love what you said. Buffalo soldiers. Guess what? It was horses that was how they got around. It wasn't no damn Model T. It wasn't no jet. Then it went all the way to Tuskegee. I love what you said. because black folks were interested in this from the horse to the jet. My father worked for the Buffalo Soldiers, was part of his story, come up west again, and he ended up working and retiring for Boeing. That's a story. See, that's kind of sexy. That's kind of like if that was a movie, how did this man, what's all in there's Buffalo Soldiers, Tuskegee, and here's a history of technological advancement. I'm glad this is recorded. It doesn't matter. You can go back and watch it again and watch these words play out, Michael Harris, when he watches this later. A history of technological advancement from the wagon train to the jets. The planet Earth wasn't doing what the Earth is doing now. That time frame from the wagon train, Buffalo Soldiers, and what we had to do, and to where now we're looking in my dad's same lifetime, for example, that time frame, just to put some brackets around it. And now we're jets and Tuskegee Airmen, and what they did, it wasn't jets, but they were flying Tuskegee Airmen, and it was black folks. And this is part of the American story that Gavin Newsom, that every mayor, that all those people that was in the picture with Michael, they don't have the angle. See, when the masses come together with this understanding, they'll write new laws if they want the country to continue. If they'll write new laws if they want people in the city, because it's a very sexy story. It might even throw in every now and then maybe Tom Cruise or something if he's still around, but just for those folks. But he definitely wasn't he ain't gonna be a Tuskegee Airman if I write the story. But the point, hey, the way they did Jesus, they might make him the #1 Tuskegee Airman. If we don't, this is the problem, Michael. But we got the solution because we down in these trenches. And so without that, and I'm sure there's trenches in Oakland, but if you don't even have the personal skill enough to listen to those that have a solution, you'll never hear a solution, ever. And that's back to the basic study manual with me. I don't want to go on that tangent because we're talking about Buffalo Soldiers right now. I just
Okay,
wanted to share that.
so Andrew, I'd like to share this. I'm experiencing Michael in part with a form of frustration because he has an immediacy goal of the next 7 days. So if you could communicate with him to email back to you, because in order to say what he says, he must see the answer. He didn't hear it from this group of people. So have him articulate 10 things that he thinks this group of people or anybody else could do to make the next 7 days actualize with his vision. However, on the next stand now, since we're having our own post meeting that he may hear later, for example, he mentioned Dr. Shirley Weber. Dr. Shirley Weber created the program that created my job at San Unified School District as the program manager of race and human relations for 135,000 students. And in terms of what his concern is, he mentioned in a prior meeting, Professor Chuck Ambers, who's with the Casa de Real Mural Museum. So under my jurisdiction, boots under the ground, I brought and had to bring 14,000 fourth graders to the Casa del Rey Mural Museum. So what I'd be interested in a post 7 day, it's only 7 days, so there's the rest of life after that, is I'd be interested in, he said something very important to me. If I understood him, he wants to have a revamped curriculum about the Buffalo Soldiers that includes the kind of data that he articulated so well, Sequoia, Yosemite, these types of things. So whether I work with Michael or not, whether I can make it on the 28th, I already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be calling San Unified School District. I'm going to be working with Professor Chuck Ambers, and we're going to be getting the information off of the congressional packet and get that information and update. So the takeaway with people will have a more deeper understanding of the contribution of the Buffalo soldiers. And I'll just call Shirley myself, okay? She lives 5 blocks from me, okay? So I'll walk over to her house, okay? and we'll have that conversation in the post sense. But I want to honor what Michael was trying to articulate, because it sounds like to the tremendous work that he's done and others that supported it, the 7 days, is he's trying to get the widest piece. And that's really mostly what he wanted to focus on. And I can understand that. There's something called immediate and short range goals and long range goals. So again, just circling back, if he can, if you can get from him just as one representative to 5 suggestions, 10 suggestions of what people can do in the next 10 days to help him, he could come away feeling more heard and more actualized. And that's very, very, very real there. However, there were 2 simultaneous realities going on here. So let me stop there.
Let me say this in reacting and our response to that. From the Buffalo Soldier, the real fruit of this now, because the Buffalo Soldier piece is a piece of history. It will never become everything and only thing in our lives, as
Right.
we have a digital divide on the planet. I'm bringing in, I don't know who's still there. I can't really see everybody, but the Envision Center, I'm speaking language I know Kenneth understands, and there's a lot of MUs in all of this. It's a phenomenon in the human mind that whenever you come to a word you don't understand, pretty much everything after that, if not everything after that, is confusing as hell. And it really has nothing to grab onto to root itself. And it's just a bunch of conversation. And until we really grasp that as speakers, as leaders, we won't just keep talking when we know we've said words it almost feels like a pedantic exercise of just how many words I know that you don't know. And then we feel good and then and nobody does nothing. That's no longer going to work. So that's just what I'm saying though about this educational thing. On the call yesterday with Teresa King and Michael Rendler, I know for those that are on the call, they don't know that, but I'm going to bring home Michael Rendler and bring home this Envision Center and watch, because we're not going to have time, in my humble opinion, to create it's almost like a whole, everything got to be in a spot. Not everything, but Buffalo Soldiers, Watts, especially as it relates to Watts and Kenneth's mind. And it's already there that the youth can learn these things like 1, 2, 3, 4 years old and on up. And at the same time, all the adults as well. And at the same time, there can be a digital understanding of, especially where Michael's coming from, with the solutions of real everyday stuff. Michael Rendler, I'm talking about Michael Rendler, because if all the history of Buffalo Soldiers doesn't translate into now, what do we do? Where are we going? What's the game plan? And that's what I don't have any hope that up there right now, they're going to ever figure out a game plan. That's why when you poo-poo on Kenneth Wyrick, it's live. We can go back and rewind the tape. I'm not attacking anybody. We have to attack the truth. When you poo-poo on the one that's bringing a solution, historically, we can find many solutions, people that many times when people be in town hall meetings and the one that had the answer got shot down. And then we wonder why things ain't working and it ain't getting no better, because the ones we haven't figured out or the time wasn't right or whatever, for the ones that actually have these solutions to be heard. And that's what I know this represents more than anything. This collective unity will be heard. And it's already in Lamert and different places. And so, if I lived in Oakland, I would be able to quote the spots in Oakland, I'm sure. If I lived in San Diego, I can't do that. But in LA, oh yeah. We know the people that will coalesce around this, and like Ajin just said, what he brings to the puzzle, or to the whole puzzle, the piece that he brings, huge piece, what he talked about. See, this is something we should study, Michael and Remus and anybody. If you don't do it and it's a solid idea, somebody come along later and do it. You might not be able to do it, but it's going to get done. It's not an exasperation. Yeah, if you want to get it done by 10 o'clock tonight, well, you might kind of have a heart attack. But if you understand that next year, what can happen? See, one of my mentors said this a long time ago. People overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they could do in 5 years if they had a game plan.
Right.
That's huge. Everything could be fixed in 5-year game plan. And this right here is a crew that has an intention. I love his Republican guy holding the sign, and I just don't have much hope, forgive me, that he gonna come down into Watts in LA and start telling and be the white savior that's gonna tell all the black folks about the Buffalo Soldiers. I don't think that's gonna be the effective way to get the job done. I think history will say a year, 2 years, 10 years. It's about what and who can get the job done. And I'm here to say what is happening. And I pray to see as much of it complete as I possibly can, because it's a lot of this goes way beyond my living years. I know that, but hey, who knows how fast and what we can do And I look forward to seeing it. I know some folks that saw the Million Man March and they was like, I'm done, I'm good. I never thought I'd see, they saw Barack Obama become president. They're like, I'm good, I'm 89. I never thought I'd see the day. Many of us got a lot to do before we say, all right, we did our job, we good, we can just, all right, we accomplished our mission. There's some stuff to do. And it keeps me busy all day, every day. I got to be diligent about when I sleep, because it's the kind of thing that will wear you out. It's that much. So, but I love that we tapping it with the right crew. And in these 4 pillars: health and wellness, financial literacy, leadership and ethics, and education. I can wrap all those around in one story. And if you can do that, everybody that's involved with health and wellness, the financial literacy, which now is the digital world for sure, leadership and ethics, and education. And guess what? You will have aligned yourself with Michael Rendler and everything on VCAP if you do that. And it'll solve the Buffalo Soldier thing if we come together that got love for our people. You're not gonna have a people that don't have love for our people telling our story and think the story gonna be right. It ain't never gonna happen. I can't tell you the story of the Cherokee. I don't know enough of the story. I probably got some in me, but I can't tell that story. But as far as this story with Ajin and Watts and Owens, I can tell that story. I live with my daddy and my grandmama every day of my life. And there's a lot of us here that are coming together around that. And it relates to a much bigger piece of America, which relates back to, I can't wait to meet Akinsanya. I'm well aware, whatever I learn, I gotta go teach it. Or I take it to the grave with me. It don't mean, hey, Remus knew a whole lot, but he over in the grave with it. Nobody else knew it. That don't excite me. I know more than you. That don't excite me. What excites me is because I know it, a million other people know about it ASAP. That excites me. And Michael, hey, you've been knowing all this time, and I don't know why everybody don't know yet. But now that I know, I'm responsible. I can't speak on nobody else. All I can say, but I guarantee you folks want to hear the story, but who's gonna tell it? And whose attention can you get long enough to even want to listen to it? Because they probably got a 10-second, 5-second, 30-second. If you don't hit them in 5 seconds with the right stuff, I don't give a damn what you know. They not listening. If you ain't got the right music behind it, or you ain't blinging enough, you ain't getting their attention. And they just will go without forever. I'm not cool with that. So that's just me.
So my question, since we 3 are here right now, we do have a wider audience. I have to admit that last year, I was one of the people at the Zoom for the Buffalo Soldiers, and it never occurred to me again until right now, right? So I'll take responsibility to do what I can to help uplift the idea about activities. Remus, I believe, and also Ajim, I think it's our responsibility to do what we can locally and even in San Diego or anywhere we are. So let me commit myself to help make this better known. But Remus, as you know, my focus is on making this better known as one of a series of events that will continue throughout the rest of the year and at least through 2028.
Right.
Yes, sir. Buffalo Soldiers to the SoFi Stadium and the Olympics, baby. Tally up. Yeah, everybody get to what they say back in the day. Let's go. We got a big powwow at the SoFi in 2028 with the rest of the world paying attention. I like that. I think we've enough time. When I say 5 years, 6 years, I think with that plan, the world will know. And LA will be very solidified on our role in this. And yeah, that right there. Now here's another thing. Back to the immediacy of the 28th. I got some things that came up, might be in Vegas on the 28th, just came up yesterday. But Zoom, thank God for Zoom, because here's the thing, the follow-up plan of us united, going to talk to all of those people that would be there. If Michael was able to, he don't realize I believe we could get out of our contingency 20 people that it would be, if we had a voice. But to get everybody together and there's no voice and we just falling in, to me, a lot of that can be done on Zoom. Would it be valuable to be there? Absolutely. But to me, it's about where the heat is, where the love is. You got to go where the love is. And if it ain't no love, and now the person's actually putting in information and it's going to make it harder for you to get past, and then whispering in their ear, that nigga interrupted me on a Zoom. Well, then now we ain't going nowhere. It ain't going to have traction.
Well,
I could have saved my money and bought the book and went online and stayed home and kept moving. And so we can get to 5 years from now.
So my question, Gene, is
Yeah.
that because as I heard you, perhaps I understood you correctly, that Shirley Weber is a neighbor, and it was she who has a vested interest in making sure that the Buffalo Soldiers Day is recognized not just in Sacramento, but throughout the entire state of California. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and that we had a model for that. The program, I retired 5 years ago, but the program that I headed for 18 years was the only program of its kind in the entire country, where you had and recognize. I'll do that another conversation. Recognized in the Pulitzer Prize winners book, recognized by Congress, Senate. I mean, I'm talking about big recognition, and the recognition was hinged on what I call the institutionalization, because what we were able to do and model for the country is how to institutionalize culturally relevant instructional curriculum and strategies that Remus alluded to. So, because all our kids got to go to school, okay, that's the one place you can't get their captured attention for a while is in the school, and Dr. Weber understood that. And the others that helped create the program that I became a part of. And so, yes, that's what I call sustaining this information. It's symbolism, okay? And what I'm going to say, both are important. I have Michael as Moses. I have us collectively as Joshua.
Right.
And, you know, it was Joshua that delivered the people to the promised land.
Is there an Aaron? Is there an Aaron in the story?
Yes, yeah, you see, yeah, and Aaron, yeah, and Aaron, because remember, when the message came to Moses, he had a stammering problem, okay? He couldn't really communicate with people.
You mean he couldn't get his message across to other people effectively?
That's the point. So he said,
Oh,
look,
okay.
you make Aaron your prophet, okay, but I'm doing you, but then Joshua. So we all going to work together. Let's leave Michael where he is, and we will assist him as best we can, even though he appeared to leave out of frustration. But believe me,
Well, no, I kicked him out.
oh, I see. After 7 days, he will be in a very, very different listening place.
Of course, of
I
course.
guarantee
Well, the great news,
you.
the great news for Courage to Rebuild, right, is that as I understand it, our commitment is to support the highest level of consciousness that we can. As I understand that, that's Shirley Weber. So
Right.
as I understand it, my commitment, Andrew Networks, is to focus on what we can do to support her efforts, knowing that will also.
And
Absolutely.
now we're getting some real progress. So again, thank you, Michael, because again, we're at least it's somebody that we can touch, and he's in there, and but here's the reality, and it's like the president, was it Roosevelt or somebody told Martin Luther King, make me do right. You have to make me do right.
There you go.
You have to make, and he over there thinking, well, they're gonna do right, and I don't know why. No, they are not we can make Shirley, if I was elected, you got to make me do right. I'm not trying to be elected. You know what I'm saying? Because you up against powers that be. The minister said it like this: Barack Obama can't just go in there and be a black president. If the people aren't united enough out there in the communities,
Right.
they can't. It comes down to electoral votes and this and that, and this. There's layers to this game, but this is what I think a proper gradient with. Was her name Shirley or Shelley? Shirley Weber.
Yeah.
Dr. Shirley Weber with AHIABGA. See, now, like even just throwing Janie in the conversation, people that are listening to this later, they don't know, but it's important because they will know. You're shooting now to the governor. When you get around corporate America, you can shoot way up here, but you don't realize that whole echelon will gladly take 1% of y'all and show how much they love you.
Right.
But the 99% of y'all still gonna die.
Right.
And that's not exciting to me if I'm representing my people.
Right.
I love that. Like the minister said, no, you ain't gonna have no problem out there and you whisk me away at the Million Man March. If something go down out there in that crowd, 1.6 million, I'm gonna be out there with them. Don't get this idea that you're gonna whisk me away underneath the White House steps and no. Go tell the mall security, I'm gonna be right out there with them. That's what the people are missing. The person that's not gonna be cutting deals over here, and the masses don't know what the hell is going on. So that's great. AB 3121 I know about. I can't know everything about everything that's going on about every single thing. I know that Airbnb. I know the digital thing with Brother Ben last night. I mean, well, as long as God keep us breathing, we got it. But it's more about duplication. That's why I get passionate about, I don't have it here, that basic study manual. I do have it here. The first barrier to study. I don't need to read this out loud. The first obstacle to learning, Michael, is the idea that one knows it all already. That's the first barrier to study, to learning anything. I didn't write these words. A student who thinks he knows all there is to know about a subject will not be able to learn anything in it. Such a student doesn't even know what he doesn't know. If you ask him if he was willing to learn about it, he would try to avoid your question. If the shoe fits. He isn't willing to learn about it because he has the false idea that he knows all about it already. As an example, I once took a correspondence course in photography, thinking that I might learn a few more tricks in the subject. I had been a rather successful photographer, having sold many of my photographs to magazines, and some of my work had even been published in geography books. However, once I started the course, I got only as far as the third lesson when I found myself bogging on it and putting it aside. I stress bogging because I could clear the word, and I will. Being stuck and unable to make progress. He started bogging down on it and putting it aside, the subject of photography. Later, I took another look at this correspondence course I was taking and realized that this same course contained the real basics and the fundamentals of the subject of photography that I didn't even know existed in it. I saw that I didn't know even the first fundamental of why photographs were taken in the first place. I didn't even know why were they even taken. It dawned on me that I had been very arrogant and that I really didn't know all there was to know on the subject of photography, and that there was something there to learn. Once I could see this, I buckled down and I started to study the course for real. I then finished the next 8 lessons in 2 weeks of part-time study, and I gained a workable understanding of the subject for the first time. I'm here to suggest our people don't have a workable understanding of politics. They don't have a workable understanding of engineering. Michael Rendler does, of sustainable growth. So anyway, all the knowledge and understanding I had learned from that course would have been denied me if I had not overcome the first obstacle to learning. On the subject of learning itself, the first datum to learn and the first obstacle to overcome is, why are you studying it if you know all about it to begin with? If a student can decide that he does not already know everything about a subject and can say to himself, here is something to study, let's study it, he can overcome this obstacle and be able to learn it. This is a very, very important datum for any student to learn anything. If he knows this and applies it, the gateway to knowledge is wide open to him. I think it's a very important book. I think it's very important information. I believe so much in it because nobody, including me, wants to be frustrated saying stuff to people and you don't even know if they're comprehending it and if they're even paying attention, if they even care to know. That's a waste. These youngsters today, if you don't get their attention right away, they'll let you know, I'm not even trying to hear you, man. Miss me with that. And so what's in it for them? Khalid Shah, Stop the Violence. Oh, we got that meeting at 1 o'clock today, is it?
So support Michael.
Huh?
Yes, sir. 1 o'clock today, Khalid Shah.
I know I jumped around. You guys didn't see the text message. I just had to read it as it came across
Is
my
that a
screen.
meeting that I should be in, or that's a different meeting?
I don't see why not.
Yes,
What do you
should.
say, Andrew? I say
believe you
definitely you
should.
need to be in it.
Okay, if you
It'll
can send
be-
me the link. So one more additional thing, Andrew, that I would share, is that, hold on, I think I lost the point.
Did it have anything to do with Dr. Shirley Weber or the game plan?
No, it did. Thank you. So I had mentioned in the other conversation with our brother Michael about someone named John William Templeton, who is the brother that I co-authored the book, Our Roots Run Deep: The History of Blacks in California, 1900 to 1970. He also wrote a book from 1600. He did mention in Michael's style that he did know that John was doing tours. He does tours around the Bay Area and have been doing it for several years to look at historical sites. But he was self-correcting me, as he did here today, that at that point, like today, he wasn't really interested in hearing about John. He even said Shirley. If you go back and look at it, he didn't want to hear about Shirley, John, or anybody. But I'm going to double back and say, as soon as this call is over, I'm going to call John William Templeton. And whether he and Michael have a relationship or not, and if they do have a relationship, if it ends up like today's conversation that causes division, I'm going to ask him, because when Dr. Weber did her reparations committee that was passed, it was John William Templeton who was one of the presenters. So that's how much credibility she holds him to have. I'm going to ask him to help Michael, since he's in the Bay Area, in the next 7 days to at least get anybody in his jurisdiction in the Bay Area to be in attendance, one, and whatever else we can find out from Michael that he thinks he needs help with. Remus, he did say to you, even though you said point blank, I'm going, he said, no, you're not. I don't know what to do with that kind of thinking.
Yeah, that's why.
No, but I mean, but let me finish. Yeah. So, if a person gives you an answer and you're not able to extrapolate the answer and then give an answer as though you never heard it, that tells me then, I think our brother is so overwhelmed and so inundated, and I'm on his side, that conversations like him could really be frustrated because he's trying to, like the Dutch boys, stick the finger in the dam, okay, to keep the plug. But again, it's up to us to get past that, be okay with our brother in his immediacy, know that we'll meet him in 7 days, and he will be talking a very different conversation, very different conversation. But I will call John Templeton and ask him to help our brother. So that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Remus, back to you. Now, Khalid Shaw asked me to contact him in advance, so I sent out an email. As a matter of fact, let me forward it to you, James, so you'll have the information.
Well,
but I'm inviting several people.
You forwarded it to me already? Is that what you sent me already, Andrew?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't look at it yet.
Your WhatsApp as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yes. So the outcome I would like for us, this team, to consider is that Courage to Rebuild, Andrew Networks, James Shahid are moving forward to make this year the first year in our next 7-year operation, at least through 2028 with the Olympics, and if not through 2030. That's what I'm committing myself to do, just to say that to you.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, Les Hamasaki is very important, Ajin.
Yes.
Because when we start talking from this angle, which Michael doesn't know about the connectivity of Les, Mayor Bradley, the Olympics is not going to be in Oakland.
No.
They might have some events up there because it's a lot of venues are going to be needed. I don't know what the state of California is planning, but the opening and closing ceremonies will be in Inglewood, California. Along with a little thing in between there, I think it's the year, in 4 more years, the Super Bowl will be back here.
Right.
Which is a precursor to a lot of folks paying attention to LA again.
Yeah.
At that time of the year. So, and next year with Janie and we got the data that the 2023 there is a event at the SoFi, what's it called, the United in Peace event, which you watch my words. Michael Rendler will be well versed on that because there's no way the United that peace event Brad Carson doesn't already know or will be a part of. There's no if he's still alive, and if all of us are still alive, that's a caveat for everybody, of course. But my point is, the only way he wouldn't be is if he wasn't physically here. What I'm saying is we have those lines in these conversations the last 24 hours. Andrew definitely knows it, but with Ajin now and as this new moving piece, because it's all about the glue strong enough to hold these pieces together. That's the only thing missing. You know, the pieces exist already. They already, that the white folks know that. The powers that be know that. That piece has been existing from Buffalo Soldier time before that, Africa. But until it's united a certain way,
right,
that everybody can say we are unapologetically doing this. United Nations style around the planet. We loving on folks. We bringing water. We bringing electricity. We're not hiding that. We're not cutting deals in the side over here that people don't know. Everybody 3 years old, 5 years old, this is what we doing. This is what electrical grid. This is where we get the, this is what this is. You get to take this over pretty soon. You got to know this early. And so not get to be 50 and you still don't understand it and you still trying to get the right conversation with the right people and everybody don't know. Well, yeah, the undercut I like to talk about. We live way up here with the solution, but there's some things that have to happen before you get the crop.
Right.
It isn't, you don't just go to Walmart, little boy, and the food is just there. That's not how food is produced.
Right.
No, it ain't just Ralph's or 7-Eleven that makes apples. No, they come out the ground. And we got to have some ground. There's fertilizer. We got to be on that level. And, I'm not saying just be in the farm all day. That's big business and there's things and it can be fun. It can be music. It can be yoga. It can be beaches. It can be a lot to it as you do it.
Right.
It don't have to be drudgery. You can whistle while you work. I think I heard that in a song once somewhere, but go ahead.
Oh yeah. So one more thing, brothers, also that just came fresh. One of our enemies, even to the work in this form and shape of Michael Harris's current expression of the work, is culturally our critical race theory. So as soon as that event takes place with the Buffalo Soldier, all the soldiers of critical race theory are going to rush out to annihilate that message. So now why I'm saying this, I'm doubling back to a school system such as Center Unified School District, which is the 8th largest school district in the country. The current Assistant Secretary of the United States of America was the superintendent of that school district, and I worked with her for 6 years. So my point is you have to find places where you can model. So in our work, it's going to be critical to take a school district like San Unified School District and then problem solve in LA. Where are the LA schools that also are not going to be daunted by critical race theory and its politics?
Let me tell you.
So we can give this information to them.
Let me tell you.
Mhm.
Let me tell you what Elijah Muhammad talked about, and it's crucial. Charter schools, private schools.
Yes.
Because there's a separation. We can fight it or not, but there's a separation that exists and that's going on. I love what you're doing, Ajin, and the school districts. We're going to hit the politics, all of that. But what's going to happen is over time here, increasingly every day,
right,
every elected person, every school board, every tax-paying dollar money is going to come down to the masses of the people who have agreed they want this. Now, when I say the masses, I don't have any illusion of grandeur that everybody across America is on the same page. Right. But I think it's going to become a very local political thing. It's going to be like what happens in certain districts around San Diego and certain places around LA. It's not going to be all of California on that same page. In LA County or LA City or in Inglewood alone. It's going to be, but my thing is when we identify those individuals in all these nooks and crannies that are on that page, that's part of our job. It will kind of surface.
That's important, Remus, because the additional thing I want to share with you, Senator Michael Hart is the person who created charter schools with legislation. And I sat in his office and talked with him and even debated with him about the future of that concept that had yet to even come out. In San Diego, we had a number of charter schools, and I worked with those schools as their staffs fought one another and annihilated one another in charter schools. I'm just gonna be some behind the scenes and had to bring them back to something. So most of our kids will always be in the public school system. Some of them will be in charter and even far less will be in private. And a great deal of them will just be on the streets with Sidewalk University. So with you, I'm with you. We have to hit all fronts.
Yeah. Yeah, we're moving into a time where, go ahead, Andrew.
In that regard, I was sharing with you, in particular, Azim, the African American Policy Forum that's being held this summer that involves critical race theory summer school.
Okay.
teaching truth to power.
Mhm.
It may be something that you're aware of, but it is a virtual event and it is available. Scholarships are available. So I would urge you, Remus, as well as others, to consider taking a look at the link I put in the chat,
Okay.
because this may be a basic study manual 101 collaboration, Remus, just to say that.
And if you don't mind, Andrew, because I'm still not as computer savvy as I can be, I'll get more traction if you send that link directly to my email as well.
No worries. Also, I'll include it in the chat when I
Yeah,
get through with
as
this. It's in our chat.
as well.
So it'll be in the chat when I send it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah,
I
because
like it. And by the way, just for the record, that I saw the date on that event. It's happening now because it said July 18th to July 22nd.
Oh,
But
really?
as far as,
Literally.
huh?
Yep, they'll have it on demand as well.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
also
Yeah.
share with you. I'll also share with you yesterday's Democracy Now! Presentation that included the introduction. No, it was on the PBS NewsHour yesterday afternoon. That's where I learned about it. So there's like a 5-minute segment about the woman who started this. I'll send that to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's good. That's good. And I just so for clarity also, my particular thing is, and this has always been a struggle that I've recognized, is I can keep learning and going and going and going and going and going and getting more and more data and not have any time or enough time spent on bringing others up. That I want to stress again why, and you even said it, Andrew, because I appreciate that. And in addition to strengthening, fortifying my ideas around basic study manual, yeah, that's very, very important. Now, Michael Rendler brought up something yesterday when I was talking to Teresa. She called me individually, and she wanted to get a game plan with me and try to represent Michael. And she's starting to learn more and more about Michael. So I just said, hold on. I called like I do, and like Andrew does. Hold on. Hey, Michael. Okay, cool. We're talking now. Let's have a real conversation, Michael, because now Michael can represent what Michael's saying, and I don't have to worry about somebody representing what Michael's saying. And so,
Right.
so in that conversation, what came out was the name of a gentleman that he felt the need, along with what along with what Teresa was saying, to make me aware. And I want you all now to be aware. So if it ever comes up again, you'll understand how I handle that and how I'm going to handle any such thought again, and why. It has everything to do with some pushback from Teresa about mentioning the nation so much and mentioning Scientology. And it was a little bit of a button, for those that understand that why I use that word, that she had on that even coming up as she's trying to. And I was like, look, don't speak for Michael, because Michael understands full-throatedly. Michael General Bray full-throatedly understands the value of the Nation of Islam in this conversation, as well as Scientology, as well as Brad Carson. So history's not going to say that was a secret kind of private conversation. Don't mention it because it's going to upset Dr. Shirley Weber or who the heck ever. It's not that time. It's not that time. It's Gavin Newsom does. It makes him nervous. It doesn't matter. It's not that time to concern oneself with who gets nervous with the truth of the solution that we have to bring.
Especially if you know the background of the person, because Dr. Shirley Weber grew up in the Nickerson Gardens in LA.
There you go.
She ain't got no problem with the nation or anything else.
I believe in her. But what I'm still saying, just her and Barack Obama or anybody else, you cannot do right if you don't have the unity of the people that are already united to make you, how you can represent something when you go to Sacramento, DC, wherever you go, Africa. You got a constituency that ain't playing. They will back up what you're saying. If not, you representing 1% of those that have organized around what you're saying, and they will pluck you apart because they like, when did y'all organize? When y'all gonna make us do anything? Shirley, that's great. Now let's go back to business as usual, critical race theory, and let's go back to why we ain't gonna talk about no Buffalo Soldiers anymore.
Right.
And so, but here's my point. But anyhow, I may not find the name of the person. Oh yeah, EST, Earhart Seminar Training, Werner Earhart. He got sued apparently by Scientology, according to Michael. I didn't dig into it because he was representing their, or probably perjury. Like he was using their stuff, but here's what I don't think Michael understands. If I'm giving credit to the source,
Right.
and now I try to take all these contents and say Remus's name and Courage2Rebuild on it and repackage it. Oh yeah, you better believe somebody gonna be like, hold the hell up, man. Where did you get that? That's why I go so full-throated with it. I don't have an issue with the man. Mr. Farrakhan don't have an issue. And he's documented himself. He connected with Allah. He could care less who like it, don't like it. The truth will gonna set you free.
Right.
UCLA, whatever the hell you find the data, get the data and tell everybody where you got it so they can go get it.
Right.
And now what's new is how we're doing this. This concoction that we're putting together, that's ours. That's part of what we're documenting. That's why Courage2Rebuild becomes important. What Ajin's name and what you're doing in this book becomes important because now the story can live on its own. Andrew Networks is important. Sweet Excursions. I love when you talk about John Templeton. You don't think I'm gonna do a tour with Sweet Excursions out there? Where's Khalifa? You don't think I'm gonna do a tour out in a Buffalo? People that come through the California tour, LA, but we're gonna go up to Northern Cal. We're gonna hit college. You don't think you're gonna pay some money to come on a tour with me with Sweet Excursions to learn about this shit?
Right.
And, oh, that's Michael over there, by the way, y'all. See the one over there, just he's sitting over there by himself. That's Michael Harris. We doing this shit. We got millions to tell this story to, man. I don't need your permission to say when you come to LA, because they asking me at the game is gonna be played. We Super Bowl champions right now. LA is the Super Bowl champions all year. They come play these games. They want to go to the stadium and take a tour during the week before the game starts. Behind the scenes, $40. You need to come see what's going on. And if you don't know me, you're hurting yourself. There's places and things, Les Hamasaki and Little Tokyo, there's stories you might not get at the Hollywood tour. I don't know. You see, who was it that was talking about? Yesterday, I heard this in a conversation. I had so many conversations about Griffith Park and the history of Griffith Park.
Yeah, that was Dr. Allison Jefferson.
Thank you. I thought it was you. I couldn't place it exactly because pretty soon we'll be talking to Khalid Shah about some other Muslims and some other stuff in a minute. And Dawood will become very real to you, Ajin. Okay. Very, 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 very crucial.
Oh, I'm gonna get to meet Dawood at 1?
I don't know if it's 1 o'clock, but you're gonna meet him through Khalid Shah.
Oh, okay.
And this is what I'm saying. Andrew know where I'm going. See, I want to see Michael Harris. Tell me how Khalid Shah stopped the violence, increased the peace. Danny Bakewell, 300,000 people coming out here to the Taste of Soul. You don't know what I know, Mike. I love you, man. But you ain't been made to put this thing together, bro. Right. But I need your part. Trust me. Like the Buffalo Soldiers, you told me, hey, it's online already. I don't have to buy the book. I'm good. Thank you. You don't have to tell me twice, man. I won't flow no money your way. I go online and print it my goddamn self. I'll sell the book. Shit, if I could just go print it. So, man, so that's why when we were on that call with him the other day, I want to highlight this. I'm looking at 6 people. You think I'm just talking just to be talking? I'm thinking at six suites. Each suite you told us can hold 6 people. Right. I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna need but without the love and the support, I've been married before and it ain't no love and support. I'm not trying to marry again and it's gonna be hell. I can go solo until someone show up that I do want to really get married to. It don't have to be you, but it's gonna get done, man. I'm talking for God now. Remus, you die today, this shit will get done. I don't know how, but it will get done. My ego's in check. It ain't about you, man, but whatever you can do, do it. That's where I come from. So if that person can do it, good, I'm gonna do something else. I'm only doing stuff that I know nobody else is doing effectively. Don't get your ego in the way, Michael. Oh, well, we already doing that, Kenneth. Why are you gonna poo-poo on the man? You done got, let's go back. You said ain't enough, nobody knows about this, but now you wanna argue, oh, they already all know about it. You can't say it both ways, man. You gotta lock in on one statement and let's go to work. But the point is, oh, there's 2 of us that have signed up. I know there'll be more than 2, but it should be 2,000 already, 20,000 already, a week out. Right. A year from now, it'll be 2 million. Like, we don't know how to, look, man, we can only hold 500 people in the arena. The rest of y'all gonna have to be on an auxiliary Zoom or something because we sold out this 6 months ago, man. This is that big. Michael. You preaching to the choir. But if you just think this is an avenue to keep venting what the hell ain't working, none of us got time for that. Show the children are saying, nigga, show me what works. I don't want to hear why this shit ain't worked yet. They don't have no stomach for that. They want to eat today. They want to get the new car today. They want to have shit today. They need the new cell phone today. They want to be at the Super Bowl next year. Now they don't care about all the reasons why it ain't worked. You just proving that you ain't the one to bring the solution. God gonna bring the solution. Don't think for a moment that it's just gonna forever be this way. And when white folks die, we all dead. That shit ain't the story. Trust me. They fading, but there's another group coming up. But they got truth all in them. They not gonna sell out. They eating vegetables every day. They thinking on the right thoughts every day. That group is out here. And the ones that ain't out getting it because we ain't got the information to them. I put myself in the boat now. I was 18 a few days ago. I was sitting there in college and student, but nigga, you 53 now, Remus. You responsible now for why the whole shit ain't right. According to the 1-year-old or the 2-year-old, like you've been here 50 years and you still ain't fixed the whole problem of California. What the hell you been doing? You've been knowing. Oh, critical race theory is why you ain't gonna get it done. Man, miss me with that. We finna get this done, bro. These people want to live. And whoever come against it, trust me, God is who they gonna have to deal with. Rain, hail, snow, earthquakes. Teresa King was letting Michael know, who's the lady that's stopping this, Michael? Well, I'm gonna deal with her. You have no idea. This is why they don't want the masses to know. When the masses wake up and get the basic, and they don't go past words they don't understand it, they start to say, wait a minute, this is what you've been really doing with the money? The jig is up. The masses will be like, oh, hell to the no. We know where you live.
As we close, perhaps you could share with our audience the basic study manual and how to reach you, Remus. And I think we need to think about the FSM link that people can begin using to make purchases of not the book only, but the course, perhaps.
Absolutely. Hit me in the DM, Remus Muhammad. Put my name, my phone number in there just because it's recorded. Hey, hit me up. Everybody that knows it knows it is 951-746-7125. 951-746-7125. Remus Muhammad, you can find me in social media, Instagram, Remus Muhammad, the number 4 at iCloud.com. Most importantly, if you're on this call, some kind of way you can track back to Andrew, myself. And absolutely, there's money to be made. There's a program that they have that's basically almost like an affiliated program. I don't want to say network. It's not that, especially in light of what somebody was talking about earlier about. I don't want to misrepresent it. But the point is this, there's definitely an affiliated program. It's definitely set up by the organizers of who put this book out, that if you bring people to the table, and there's a commission for you. If you let the word get out and you let it be known, there's an incentive for you. There's there's a way you can go ahead and position yourself where you actually getting paid on 2 fronts, what's called a field staff member, and also from the IAS, International Association of Scientologists. So, for those that don't get stuck on labels and words and just want to get the job done, absolutely. Because in my humble opinion, what God is doing through me, I say Allah because I'm a Muslim, born and raised Catholic. But here's the point. This is the foundation that will lead to all kinds of other basic study manuals. This is one book that exists. It's just, I don't care what you want to learn. But when you get into engineering, and when you get into farming, and when you get into aeronautics, there's some basic study manuals that have not even been created yet. Just something simple, an easier way to get people to digest it so that then they're on a gradient that they can ride off into the sunset with, and they can learn all that. Those subjects already have plenty of data all over Wikipedia and everything else, YouTube, about any subject you want to find out about. However, we're in the stage now of training and teaching, and the best trainers, the best systems, the best content creators that make it nice. There's a Gracie's Corner I'm learning about with my little 1.5-year-old. Learning ABCs today. That Gracie's Corner wasn't there when I grew up. Little hip hop music and stuff behind the ABCs and pictures of pyramids, and it matters. It matters, who the images are, what the images are. We can control as we learn the basics of communication. We learn the basics of physics and laws and mathematics and life and real stuff. Because quiet as is kept, we all gods. Yeah, we children of the Most High. but we definitely ain't niggas. Somebody said, let us make niggas, but it sure wasn't God. God never said, let us make niggas. You see, that niggas is a product of what this 400 years of this white supremacy has produced. But I tell you, we shaking them shackles off and we moving forward. And so I want y'all to understand something. This basic study manual is a foundation you can't go wrong with. There's 3 barriers to learning. There's all kinds of stuff. Demos, clay demos are important to learning. Demonstration, demonstrate what you're telling me about. Show me, take these sticks, take some clay. Show me what you're talking about. If you can't show me what you're talking about, you don't know. If I can't show you what I'm talking about in clay and make it real clear, I don't care what it is. Could be talking about anything. A pencil. Well, show me what a pencil is. Use this clay and tell me what a pencil is all about. Then if you can't do that, Remus, then you don't know that subject. You got to make this crystal clear and plain if you intend to educate. If you just want to make a bunch of robots that can memorize some stuff and spit it out and not think with it, that's a whole different thing. That's business as usual. But if you want to teach someone to think and understand and derivation of words, that basic study manual is crucial for anybody.
Ajim Shahid, it's time for you to introduce your book and your introduction and your contacts and your clothes. Ajim Shahid, the floor is yours.
Well, the first book in my series of Changing Paradigms, Unsung Heroes, Remus has it there. It's called Charles C. Flint, The Man in Its Times. And it offers the reader a chronicle and a glimpse of a Black man among many Black men, and a comprehensive study of what it is he was able to achieve in the development of Los Angeles from 1884 to 1933, which includes such things as the first Black school teacher and principal, which includes such things as the first Black fireman, the first Black anything really. He also was an entrepreneur. He owned 3 stores that sustained his independence. He was president of the Colored Businessmen's Association, that was called at that time. He was president of the National Real Estate Association. He was one of the co-founders of the Men's Forum at the AME Church on the Azusa, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He ran for city council in 1914, I believe it was, and almost won with the white and Black vote. And so those are just some highlights. Their primary resource documents. There are many men such as Charles C. Flint and women who did things that we need to double back and resurrect them and put them in front of us so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. The second book that will be coming out next week, I believe, is, I'm gonna hold it up for you. It's the blueprint, the musical blueprint of the Ernie Freeman, The Man in His Times. And very briefly, it chronicles another lost hero. Here we have the music capital of the earth in Los Angeles, and we have a man named Ernie Freeman, who from the 40s through the 80s, 120 gold records, 20 gold albums, 2 Grammys, one with Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night, the other one, the 66th most popular song in the history of music, Bridge Over Troubled Water, he got the Grammy for that. Television programs, commercials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No one can talk about that name unless you're in the music industry. We're going to have a celebration on him at the Barbara Morrison Performing Arts Center on August 18th of this year, celebrating his 100th anniversary. And it's an invitation that you will soon speak of him in the same breath as you do Quincy Jones or Clarence Avant, as he was even a progenitor before them in some parts. Sometimes they paralleled and did the work. But Ernie Freeman is a man that you'll want to really get to know. You'll be pleasantly surprised because there's just nobody he didn't work with. The Rat Pack, the Supremes, Sam Cooke. I mean, I can just go down the drum roll of lists. And so he has colored our lives. And music is a part of the Black experience. So you will not fully understand music until you understand the contribution that Ernie Freeman made, The Man in His Time. All this will come out on Amazon in the general sense. Myself, folks like Remus, We'll be getting it out to the hands on the people on the street, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The last thing I'll say with you, I am currently an ambassador for the Los Angeles South Chamber of Commerce. I'm also its co-education captain, where we will be having specific talks. There's one that's out you can look at on YouTube as we speak, called Black History 365, Music in Los Angeles. There'll be others coming forward to look at what I call critical conversations about our history. I think this is a good stopping point. I'm a person who can talk a lot.
Well, thank you so very much. I do appreciate that. And I'm going to do something that I haven't done before, Remus. I'm going to
Okay.
take a moment and do a station ID for who is bringing you this. This is Andrew Networks, and the website is in construction, right? But if you go to andrewnetworks.com, you can likely find information that will allow you to be able to reach me and the network of Andrew Networks. I am going to also share with you at the very top what that word means, Remus, so we can clear that up.
Thank you.
The AHIABGA, and you can Google that, AHIABGA, that stands for the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists. The TV part relates to the fact that we do have a channel, AHIABGA-TV, on Universal Citizens Media Network. That now is being upgraded to reach not just an internet audience, but also millions through Roku and Amazon Fire, through NWN.TV, which is also under construction by Lady Alicia Hamilton. For additional information, you can always reach me at andrewnetworks.com or AHIABGA-TV@gmail.com. And since we're on the subject of books, let me also bring up the fact that I did produce a book myself, and it was back in 1990. And I haven't really done much about promoting it, but since this is an opportunity for me to do that, let me do that right now. From 1984 to 1990, I developed the fundamentals of what we now know as the Andrew Networks. At that time, it was called the PAR Referral Network, and there's also an acronym you need to know about. It's called PAR for the Personalized Advertising Representatives Referral Network. I actually produced this as an entrepreneur's survival handbook, as you see, from 1984 to 1990, and it's findable on SlideShare. I will update the information, however, because as you see here, at that time, it was referred to as the PAR Referral Network. This Entrepreneur Survival Handbook comprises 100 pages. It covers the following topics. In the first section, you have the executive summary, marketing services, executive summary, background, concept, support services, objectives, marketing, and then the introduction of a 24-hour global communication schedule that includes global marketing targets. We'll go into what those are. The background in the beginning, purpose, general analysis, method, public service, invitation to businesses, year-round participation and support, global business development, global marketing strategy, global marketing tactics, and we have a dozen goals and objectives. In the beginning, let me just go there. I'll walk you through this sections one by one briefly. For those that are here online, of course, you can go back and review this at your earliest convenience. But Remus, I want to bring to your attention this resource bank registration form. That was very much like an opportunity for us to create in our community a resource bank of who we are. We asked each child and adult to identify what's your strongest talent, skill, or ability. And then we asked them, which of these would you be willing to teach other people about? And the idea was that we would then share that amongst ourselves and our family. We did so in an activities calendar because people have different interests. We covered 12 different topics. Arts in Focus, Body Active, How the Rent Gets Paid, Learning Minds, New Small Home-Based and International Business News, On the Air, In the Air, Opinions, Comments, and Questions, Politics, Technology, the Environment, and the Humanities, Spiritual Essentials, Student Spotlight, Telecompute Video Facts Pen Pals. We'll have to update that a bit. And Women's World. What we did was we actually created a publication that had these 12 topics. And in the city of Inglewood, beginning in 1990, I actually was the managing director of what's called the People's Paper. It was a tabloid that was distributed throughout Inglewood. And what it did was it allowed our readers to become our producers. Everyone that got a paid subscription could also include their own article in the introduction about who they are, what they were trying to accomplish, and share that with the rest of the audience. And of course, there was a subscription. So they got paid for every subscriber, Ramus Muhammad, much like Courage2Rebuild.
Yes.
At that time, there was a big focus on technology. This entire construct was based upon voicemail networks, where you'd be able to have your own message separate from your cell phone that would have one number where people would always call and get information about what you're doing, and then leave you information about how to reach them, how to follow through. I'm going to scroll through this rather quickly. Again, this is available online, and I did put the link in the chat. But Remus, you can see that all this work that was done from 1984 to 1990 was basically the basis of what now we know as the Andrew Networks. So I did want to share this with you, Remus, because the
I'm grateful that you found it in your heart to finally unleash the golden chasm of everything that I know everybody doesn't get access to, but I'm glad now that publicly the word is out, and all the shit that I've been trying to create from scratch has already been done, y'all. And so I feel like you just take about 30 years of work off my shoulders. So I'm feeling kind of good, but thank you.
Y'all would tease him too. I used to be in partnership with World Heavyweight Champ Muhammad Ali, and we went around the country gathering expertise of Black folks to take to the Middle East and West Africa. We had a Beverly Hills office on Crocker Bank on Rodeo Drive to give it some breath. And I wish we had met you during that era. I really wish we had met you during that era. And I need to remind you now, and I don't mind saying publicly, we had a number of projects to do in West Africa and the Middle East, and our dear illustrious President Ronald Reagan shut down everything, copied it, and gave it to the white folks. So I'm more interested, not so much how you develop this, but how you will sustain it and safeguard it so that it's not taken. That's
now, let me say that before you go back to finish off your beautiful presentation here about that. Thank you so much for sharing it again, man, because I do recognize quality when I see it, and that's highest of quality and work. And I see everything around me literally is trying to do that now. I mean, in the highest, most digital technical ways, they're trying to do what I see you put together in 1984 to 1990. But the digital branding, this brother Ben X, because this is being recorded, digital branding, I'm teamed up with him. So Ajim,
yes,
when he talked about the readers are the promotion of them, this is my notes, I'm paraphrasing what he said in 1990, the People's Paper. Interestingly enough, in the Nation of Islam, they have a People's Paper called the Final Call. Prior to that, it was a People's Paper called the Muhammad Speaks. And it's something that the people could count on to get information that was relevant to them. And so at the core of that, and so nowadays the People's Paper is more their digital real estate. It's more their particular, and I know Andrew understands this, and along with Alicia Hamilton, because this is the equivalent of what Scientology has as Scientology Media Productions. If you don't control your story,
right,
someone else will write your story or not write anything at all, but they're not going to write it the way you write it. So author services, since it's being recorded, is on my mind when I think about the resource bank registration form and the membership that is being created. Already Andrew and I have talked about it, and it's in motion, and this whole idea of Courage2Rebuild. And so this idea of people need to flow money and resources to those that are looking out for them. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, this group, Andrew Networks, thank you, man, because that with Alicia Hamilton, and I know you've been talking about that as long as Michael Reynolds been talking about what he's talking about. And it seems that like Michael Harris said, it seems to fall on deaf ears until it falls on the right ears and on the fertile ground. And then that thing becomes like Jack and the Beanstalk. I promise you, that thing goes to the heavens and you can jump on that thing and ride it, because now the people can get paid, which they're doing with Cash App and Zelle, and they can have their own digital brand, but they need someone to help them. I'm here to tell you, we are all going to help others begin to tell their story. Every child will have their own autobiography by the time they graduate 12th grade in the near future, because all you got to do is get a notebook. What did you do today, baby? I know you're in the first grade. We writing now. Tell me what you did. Who's your teacher's name at first day of school? And then you're going to look back in 12th grade and say, this was your story. And can't nobody change your story. That has value immediately. That's exchangeable. So I wish I could say, well, let me see your book, man. It's going to be a day. Well, give me your book for the first 18. Let me just know a little bit about you. Where you was born, your brother, your sister, your cousin. That story means something. I'm not waiting for the census to come back and tell the story. You got to write your own story going forward as soon as you can start to write. Because then you start not writing what you did today. You start to say what I want to do tomorrow. Now you start becoming the author of the future. Now you start to write about the vision of what you see life looking like, what you're going to do next summer in the 8th grade. Now you're in the 7th grade. But what you're going to do, what you want to do, what's your dream, what's your goal? And then watch how when you write that out, watch how that stuff happens a lot quicker. But anyway, go back, man. I love what you're doing, man. I thank you for putting this out there. We're so humble sometimes. We be working like the duck. You don't see the duck's feet paddling under that water. You just see the duck floating on top of the water. But you don't know.
I wanted to pinpoint what you just said. This writing the story, right? Now, I'm also a member, along with Brad Carson, General Bray, Corin Smith, others who are members of the Global Business Incubation. As I mentioned, that was founded by Paul McDonald. He was in the United States Army as an industrial filmmaker. What that may mean to you or not is that he was one of those people that was able to direct generals and captains and anyone else in the Army or anyone else in the service to go where you needed to go and be what you needed to be and say what you need to say to accomplish this objective. And the objective was based on what they call remote viewing. And remote viewing is something that causes you to go to the future and look back on what it took for you to get from where you are now to where you need to be. So the whole idea that Boeing used when they created the 747 involved someone else named William Byers, who is also part of our extended network. The entire workforce was fired except for William Byers and his team, who created the industrial film on how to construct the entire Boeing 747, because they had people from around the world that spoke different languages, that had different concepts. But just like the basic study manual, they used visualization and math to make sure they were able to describe what needed to be happening. But I say all that to say, Remus, it was actually my task in 2020 with Global Business Incubation to create with Brad Carson and others an apprenticeship program that followed on what's called the 10 Smart Teams. Paul McDonald was, and his wife, Tonya McDonald, were both the spooks behind the door with Dr. George Kosmetsky, who was known as the founder of Teledyne. He's the chairperson of Michael Dell's computer when it was founded. He's also, Ajeen, which may be of interest to you, the founder of the IC Squared Institute in Austin, Texas, which is and has been a think tank. So all these blueprints, Remus, were brought through Global Business Incubation so that we could, in fact, adapt these proven successful blueprints for corporations and organizations around the world to adapt it to our local community. That was a task of Global Business Incubation. Unfortunately, Paul has passed away, but
Which Paul?
Dr. Paul McDonald, who was the chief researcher for
He
Global
just
Business
must have just
Incubation.
recently passed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago he passed.
Wow.
But Paul Ruffin, who
Yeah.
came along in 2013, when the chairperson of Global Business Incubation,
Real quickly, is Paul McDonald's wife still alive?
she is, her name is Tonya McDonald.
You need to talk to her soon, but go ahead.
Yeah, but Paul Ruffin came along at the funeral of Lou Myers. Lou Myers was a chairperson of Global Business Incubation, which few people knew, but you may know him as starring on The Color Purple, or you may know him as starring on Different Strokes. You may know him in various fields in the entertainment business, but he used that income from the entertainment business to fund the work of Paul and Tanya McDonald until his death. So what I'm doing, Remus, is continue that legacy to be able to provide, to the best of my ability, ways to convert those blueprints that were developed for corporations to nonprofit organizations, to community groups, even to individuals, so that we can compete on a global scale with those major corporations that are in fact now recognized as human beings in terms of the United States. But what that means, as you say, Remus, is that each of us must have our own EIN number that's separate from our social security number, so that we can engage in a global scale and not be limited to being afraid to cross the street because we'll get killed because of the color we wear. But because then in the digital economy and in the metaverse, we're all out of ours. And it's now time that we do take this opportunity to utilize our talent, skills, and abilities to share this with our children, who will not listen to what we say, but only follow what we do. So I'm going to put a pause on it at that point, but I did put the link in the chat so that you can follow up as you choose. And I will send a copy of this along with the chat information as well. Thank you.
I thank you, man. And let me do something that you can't do. April 24th, 1958, Andrew Williams was born in Macon, Georgia. Ruby Lee Cooper Williams is his mother. Riverside Drive Lane Alley is an address you'll come to learn about, where he humbly began. This international player had these beginnings. You have to understand coal and the coal fields, and you'd have to understand shotgun houses. You'd have to understand what life would be like if you were built on top of a coal field, if you want to understand Andrew Williams Jr., Prince Andrew Williams Jr. There's more, a whole lot more, but I need you to understand that, because again, because we have such a beautiful, humble spirit, those of us with melanin, we don't even think to tell our story, because we're submitting to a higher authority that moves us. But the reality is starting to come full circle, that our people don't have to forever reverse engineer and go back later on and try to piece together. They can actually hear up front what's happening and be a part of it and give these flowers while we're living. We're in that time now, because if we don't understand who's amongst us, we won't be amongst those that even do anything in the future. We have to know who is amongst us. And so I'm so thankful that the time is right, because the world needs to know about Ocmulgee River. History will say Ocmulgee River. There's a lot of story that understanding American history, because we are very much the #1 proponents of American history, because there's so many stories of American history that ain't told yet. And history will tell all these stories about America's history, just like Romans history, and just like the Byzantine Empire's history, and just like the Egyptians history. There's a time, but you have to know that, or else you're going to repeat some stuff that we're not here to repeat. I love my Jewish family because they say never again. Certain things, never again will they happen, because the people ain't going to tolerate it, but only when they know the story. So Andrew, thank you, man, because now we have a blueprint of fleshing every bit of that out that I just saw now. I think it might take more than a day or two, but we're going to flesh it out and make it real right down to the modern time. Right. Because my man, Master Farad Muhammad, said, you got to be right down to the modern time. And there was a modern time when it was horses, but there was a modern time when it was them old airplanes. But now this modern time that we in, man, and so this is where now, if you don't know this history, Sankofa, Baba, you know, and knows that anchor that you can't possibly move forward properly because God is interested in us learning from all of this. That's the only reason to go through hell is so you can learn how to deal with it and learn how to avoid it. And we've been through some hell, but the good news is we still here to promote the heaven that's on the other side. And that other side is real close. We here after this nonsense is faded away. So thank you for documenting that and putting that out there, bro, because people have to put in context. Well, how do you make it, Andrew? Where does he come from? Who like Ajin, we still answering the question, Ajin, who is Andrew?
Right.
Well,
No, I have to say that to the public because it's a little private joke. I had met Andrew for the first time at a very powerful event that Remus put on. And I said to him—
When was that? When was that event?
That was Saturday.
And where
July
was it?
16th. July
Yeah.
16th. July
Yes.
16th.
Yes,
Andrew.
at the organic garden. So I just said to him, I said, please tell me who Andrew is, because I saw him in that wonderful jacket that he had and that tie and his glowing face. I said, but I saw a man with princely robes on, because I'm an artist. And so when I look at people, I do things to people. All I saw was this princely robes. So I'm just going to say, when he got through telling me who he was, I said, I knew that's who I was looking at. So anyway, that's my little joke.
See,
Well,
if everybody
I really
understood what happens with the coal, see, you don't have no diamonds. If you ain't got no coal mines. See, if you don't understand the pressure that coal goes under, you don't understand when you see these different kind of beautiful, brilliant, bright diamonds, you might ask yourself, how do I make one of those? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's going to take a little bit of pressure that you won't have to endure if you want to really be a diamond. So
Well,
be careful about saying you want to be a diamond or you want to be that gold, that California gold rush. All right. When everybody and their mama's after you and they buying shovels and jeans and understand, you better know something if you really want to be that gold. It's sought after.
Okay, I'm going to wrap this up by bringing us back to the future, right? Because
Mhm.
now, that was back in 1990. This is 2022. So as of right now, the Power Export Trading Company, the corporation, right, has taken the opportunity to set up a variety of fictitious business names through which we operate. But I do want to bring to your attention, Remus, that even now, after all these years, one of the most important and powerful parts of Andrew Networks is the very same template that we used back in 1984. So we're still using the basic global business development strategy. We're still using the marketing. We're still using these templates that were created all those years ago. So I'm not trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I already know that's worked.
I think you're trying to also figure out who else wants to roll with you on doing this. If there's any figuring to do, but I think God will work that out anyway. But especially now that it's developed to the point, obviously God doesn't make any mistakes. The timing is right, and here we are. So, yeah.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to wrap up today's event and activities and give thanks to our sponsors and to our participants and also to all of our viewing audience locally and globally. This is Andrew Williams Jr., the Andrew Networks. You can reach me at andrew@andrewnetworks.com or AHIABGA-TV at gmail.com. Thank you so much, Remus Muhammad. Thank you so much, James Shahid. Thank you so much, Kenneth Wyrick. Thank you so much, Michael Gubaka-Harris. And thank you so much to our audience that will be joining us in the future. This is a wrap for today. Thank you so very much, everyone here. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you.